Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And now straight into our next session. The next session is about the adoption of AI in investment management. How should firms set up for success? To give us a talk, actually, in this particular session is Chandini Jain. Chandini, please join me on stage. Look at that.
Hi.
The technology is incredible. I'm really enjoying this. It's strange, isn't it, asking you to join me on stage? There must be another way of doing it. Join me on stream is probably a better term.
On screen, yeah.
Before you start, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself? And then I'll disappear while you're introducing yourself, and then you go straight into your presentation. Have a great one.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm Chandini, the CEO of Auquan. We're a data science platform for investment management. We help our clients enhance their existing investment strategies using artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions. Can we have a look at the slides, please? We regularly meet with investment teams at hedge funds and asset managers to build these solutions. And I normally start these meetings asking them to explain their investment style, their research process, and which processes are data-driven. And I have been very surprised at the high variability in the answers, not just in the adoption of AI, but also in how to transform their processes to benefit from AI, and hence the motivation for this talk. I've broken the talk down into 3 stages. I'm first going to talk about the possible ways in which AI can add value, then the current barriers to adoption of AI, and finally, how firms can structure internal teams and integrate with third-party vendors to set up for success. An obvious precursor is, why now? Besides the explosion of online data, to the point where even an army of analysts cannot effectively process it, recent advances in machine learning, which have made it possible to make sense of this data, and access to affordable compute power, the discretionary investment management industry is undergoing a massive transformation. The cost pressures and outflows into passive ETF strategies are forcing discretionary asset managers to look for new sources of cost-effective alpha and upgrade their operational efficiency, both of which AI can provide. In fact, data and analytics can add dramatic value across the entire investment management value chain, as a recent study by BCG showed. Without going into too much detail, I'll quickly skim through. On the investment side, decision-making can be enhanced with access to alternative datasets and advanced analysis, while execution can be optimized to lower transaction costs. Technology can bring automation to risk monitoring and other middle office operations, like trade reconciliation and compliance. If we specifically zoom in only on the front office operations, where Auquan's expertise lies, AI adds value across the entire investment process. In terms of raw impact to the bottom line, this is the most important business area. In a typical investment process, a PM or analyst starts with an idea or an investment thesis, researches it by quantitative or qualitative means, develops a signal to indicate if those assets are buy or sell, and decides position sizing. Now, traditional discretionary, fundamental-driven investment management typically assesses investments by forecasting future cash flows, examining a company's supply chain, testing the resilience of its business model, and running competitor research. Hence, their initial work includes constructing a firm's balance sheet using financial statements and other non-quantifiable information such as news and earnings call transcripts, sometimes even meeting with management. The entire process is obviously very subjective and human-driven. But even at these firms, more data and AI can powerfully boost decision-making. Modern scraping and NLP techniques can quickly extract not only company financials, but also a company's people, products, suppliers, clients, competitors, factory locations, lawsuits, and millions of other connections from company websites, financial filings, investor presentations, news, sell-side research, databases across different domains, whatnot. Firms can generate meaningful data much faster, saving thousands of initial analyst research hours. But simple access to information is obviously not enough if the volume of information overwhelms you and you can't make sense of it. This data can be stored in a knowledge graph, which allows for easy and visual access to information, even from resources which might have otherwise been overlooked. On the other hand, for fully quantitative funds that are already leveraging the power of AI, New advances in AutoML can help them automate model building and hyperparameter tuning to get the most optimized algorithm for their investment process. This frees up time for their quants and data scientists to ideate new strategies, source innovative data sets, and generate hypotheses on how to take advantage of a data set, which is their USP. And then there's a new breed of funds in between, the quantamentals, which aim to integrate quantitative methods into fundamental investment firms. These firms combine the best of both worlds. Well-trained human analysts can quickly understand how future may look different than the past. Think of changing industry structures, emerging technologies, shifting company positions. On the other hand, well-developed computer models are unmatched in automating tasks, analyzing how the past may predict the future and identifying anomalies. Uniquely integrating both presents a logical opportunity. These firms can benefit both from tools available to the fundamental firms for accelerating data collection to the advanced machine learning tools used by quant funds to create empirical factor definitions and find new signals. These firms also often use AI to integrate new alternative datasets that can provide additional insights to supplement fundamental process and remove any inherent bias from the process. In fact, I'm going to argue that any investment firm is essentially quantamental. A traditional manager using a quantitative PE screen to filter stocks, or a quant overruling the model with human intervention in an extreme market environment, both are basically using a blended quantamental approach. However, firms that fail to tilt on the side of increased data adoption are going to fall behind and see their returns and AUM suffer. The use of AI has gone from being a nice to have to a necessity within the front office to stay competitive. I'm going to use an example of a new car insurance registrations dataset that I recently came across. This is daily data, so it's incredibly accurate at predicting new car sales. Now, instead of waiting until a quarter end to find out how many vehicles General Motors sold, you can get a running count of that number on a daily basis. Obviously, that gives you an advantage in trading these auto names, but only until everyone else isn't using that data. At that point, that data goes from providing alpha that you can capture to a data set you must be looking at to avoid an informational disadvantage. I'd like to emphasize that in this blended approach, the role of discretionary portfolio manager is far from over. They are still the most important part of the process. Even fully systematic investment requires humans to do the initial research on which data sets to use and humans to make assumptions regarding why one thing should lead to another. In a quantamental approach, even with access to fresh alternative data sets, quants lacking domain knowledge will not possess the thought on how to take advantage of this data that an experienced PM can provide. If we look at the car sales example again, would a data scientist know exactly how to take advantage of that data to generate alpha? No. That can only be provided by someone who's been trading auto stocks for many years, who knows what moves auto stocks and how having a good projection of sales would impact those names. MIT economics professor Richard Buxteber put it simply in his book, The End of Theory. No man is better than a machine, and no machine is better than a man with a machine. But still, the adoption within investment management is still quite low. According to the same report by BCG, less than 30% of asset management firms are engaged in data science in any form. Actually, a common answer at the before-mentioned meeting with funds, their answer is their investment process involves an analyst applying his unique understanding of each name to bring investment ideas to the PM, and it is at the PM's discretion to use them. By the way, when I keep saying PM, I mean portfolio manager. So when I ask them if they measure the accuracy of these analysts' estimates, no. Do they arm their analysts with automation tools to make skimming through data faster? No. Does a PM employ statistical analyses to identify confidence intervals around estimates? Does he statistically decide position sizing? No. Do they have a data science team? Mostly, yes, a central team, and quite often established recently. This shows us the core problem then is not getting access to unique data sources or figuring out how to build a data science team or a data lake. These are necessary steps, but not sufficient for adoption of AI. The true problem is more deeply embedded in the culture of the discretionary firms. Portfolio managers need to fundamentally buy into the notion that they need to be making investment decisions systematically. In fact, investing in technology and pushing for AI adoption before solving for this problem will only make things worse. When performance doesn't improve because output of AI models is not followed, the quant and the data teams are going to be the first thing to be thrown out of the window when reviewing resource allocation. And we've seen this. There are so many firms that have built big data science teams, bought a lot of data, only to finally find it all useless. At these firms, the data science teams that they've hired sit almost entirely outside the process. The CIOs don't know where to put these people, the PMs don't want to deal with them, so they just sit in a siloed team in another room. I have met so many teams, so many portfolio management teams, stating that their data science team is like a large supercomputer to them. They know it has some serious capabilities, but they don't know how to operate it, what questions to ask of it. They feel that business requirements are often lost in translation because portfolio managers and data scientists don't speak the same language. At the same time, I've also met heads of data sciences and heads of innovation who are frustrated with the zero power to implement anything because the portfolio manager who runs the book does not decide to implement their solution. Most data science projects in these firms are push rather than pull, with data science teams trying to push and figure out how to incorporate any of the stuff that they've built into the portfolio manager's decision making. This happens because the firm didn't rethink the core investment process from ground up. A successful implementation would not see most data science projects being pushed. Those projects would be driven by a business need, supplied by the PM, and then co-developed with the data science team. To enable that to happen, each firm is going to need a central infrastructure that is capable of incorporating a new dataset and making it available across the firm. Many systematic and multi-manager funds are already setting up data science teams to search for, clean, and quickly analyze new datasets for alpha. This central team should also have engineers who can just do basic analysis on a dataset to determine whether it's clean and reliable enough for further use. And that's it. That's where the central team should end. Quants should not be placed in this group because they will have little to no impact on anything used by the PMs if they're not a part of the PM's actual group. Instead, each PM's team should have one or more multiple data scientists placed directly on their desk. Each PM is going to be trading different names, is going to have a different investment style. So he or she will need access to different information. Now, fighting over central research capacity with other PMs is just going to result in a disaster. And receiving some kind of analysis that doesn't fit into your actual process is quite useless. So every PM's own data team needs to have a deep understanding of the industries the PM is trading, of his investment style, so that they can work in coordination with him to build a process that he can actually utilize. These people can then rapidly prototype ideas for the portfolio manager as a proof of concept before the centralized team does the job in a production-ready way. So now, if you're a PM, how much do you need to upskill to make use of this resource? You obviously don't need to be writing Python code or be involved in any of the quant process. But in order to effectively communicate your requirements, you do need to understand all the pieces in the process. If you don't understand the models, if you don't know how all of this works, will you ever trust the signals coming out of the model when the time comes to make buy and sell decisions? I've talked a lot about organizing personnel, but the other key part of transformation is the software that is required in this process. Now, the tendency of most investment management firms is to try and build all of this software in-house, which is a big mistake. Software required for core operations and stemming from core finance expertise should be built in-house. But other data analysis and automation tools, which leverage diverse ML domains like language processing, big data processing, image processing, should not be built in-house. First of all, firms lack the expertise to hire the right mix of skills to design, build, and maintain the system. Neither do they need them full-time once the tool is built. Going back to the knowledge graph example, to build an intuitive, fully functional knowledge graph, you will need a team of product managers, NLP engineers, graph database experts, full stack developers, and UI UX designers. If you omit any of these, you will forsake performance or user experience, and then no one uses it. Second, it is time consuming and expensive to build stuff in-house. In addition to having the right personnel, you will need to run testing, maintain deployment, keep up with the latest version of the software, deploy bug fixes, and functional upgrades as new needs surface within your teams. After a while, even if your system technically works, it is so full of one-off patches that you're constantly worried about its overall stability. Basically, creating an in-house system may seem like a good idea on paper, but in-house systems quickly outlive themselves unless there's a large and active deployment force that can keep them updated. And in any case, your edge doesn't stem from having this tool in-house. Other funds will also have access to some variation of it. Just like an alternative data set, where the edge necessarily isn't from access to data, but the answers you draw from the data, the edge isn't in having the tool itself, but how well a PM uses this tool to draw insights. For much lower cost, you can find a third-party vendor that is willing to work with you to build the feature set you're looking for. A good third-party provider will ensure that you're in the latest version of the software, you have connectivity to any source you need, that your standards are consistent with your peers, and that your system is stable and secure. Using third-party vendors maximizes the use of your resources and ensures that you can focus on your core business, as you should. To conclude, AI is just another tool, albeit a powerful one, to enable investment management firms to enhance their decision-making. And if you can have a new tool at your disposal, a tool that you can take advantage of to provide you an investment edge, why would you not use it? For example, a mechanic attempting to fix a car with a half-empty toolkit would only do a shoddy job, or worse, fail at it. He will always want to use the latest tools that all of his peers are using. The outcome obviously depends on the skill of the mechanic using all of these tools at his disposal in the best possible way, just as your final outcome depends on the portfolio manager's skill to combine his experience, his intuition, and the insights delivered by his data team to know when to double down on a position and when to deviate from the model. At Auquan, we are now partnering with many discretionary firms who are looking to adopt more data-driven processes in their decision-making. I'm really excited to be a part of this massive shift in our industry, and I sincerely believe that we can help build better firms that will be successful in capturing more alpha and competing for more capital. If you would like to chat about how you can effectively make this shift, my team and I are always here. Please come and see us at our booth. Thank you. You can take any questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.